I first got into an electric vehicle in approximately 1980, give or take a year or two. We gave a talk down at Chattanooga, and at that time the utility was sort of pushing for electric vehicles and so forth. And what I remember is kind of important. I was sitting in the back seat with a friend who had invited me down, and they had an electric van there, and it started up, and I could hear this, and I think, son of a gun, yes, that's correct. How do you power a motor with DC? If you power it with DC, if you want to have variable speed, you might want to have a resistor in series, but that resistor would get hotter than a pistol and would also just make the whole thing very inefficient. So what you have to do is switch on and off. So you got full voltage or zero, and that way you get considerably higher efficiency out of it. And I thought, well, that's a pretty clever idea. And it turns out that I think Tesla now has a unit that's, I don't know, about yay big or so, that takes in the battery voltage and produces a high frequency but variable frequency, three-phase electricity that's used to run the motor. And if you have high enough frequency, you can get around that heavy iron problem. A nice thing about a lot of these electric vehicles, and I'm thinking probably just of the Tesla, is that the batteries are in the floorboard. So you have a half a ton of weight under your feet, and it's virtually impossible to roll one of those Hummers. You're going around a curve, you're not going to tip over because you have such a low center of gravity. But the problem all along, starting in 1890, was the battery. And now we have these, they're lovingly called lithium batteries. Now, lithium has a couple of advantages. One of them is it's a top in the electromotive series, if you think back to your chemistry course, and it's also the lightest metal. However, there are other metals in there, aluminum, nickel, and cobalt, all of them, and oxygen, so that the lithium only makes up about 4% of the weight of the main materials in the battery. And thinking as a non-chemist, I'm thinking, lithium is not all that common. It's got the same chemistry as sodium does. It's lighter weight than sodium, but pretty much the same chemistry. However, the processes that create lithium in the sun are in a supernova. There are also some processes that destroy lithium, turn it into a couple of helium-3 atoms. And so that means that we don't have much lithium on Earth. But you find it where you find sodium, in other words, salt flats and salt mines and that sort of thing. My suspicion is that lithium is going to be, it's not going to offer that much advantage when people start thinking about cost. Maybe they could make a sodium battery that would be more or less the same but weigh just a hair more. It might offer some advantage. But then comes the problem of charging up your battery. And a typical number, and I think this is, it's the common number, about 270 watt hours per mile is about the figure that you can expect to get. So if you take a 200-mile round trip, that's 54 kilowatt hours. That's me going up to the south side of Denver and coming back. So I've used up 54 kilowatt hours. Now, if I recharge that battery with a 1 kilowatt charger, all I have to do is wait 54 hours. If I use 10 kilowatts, which is the equivalent of 2 electric dryers running full blast, then it'll take 5.4 hours. And if I go into one of these Tesla highfalutin 120 kilowatt stations, well, then it only takes about 25, 30 minutes to charge up the battery or something like that. I think that is going to be a little bit of a hard problem for people to want to contend with. And being a good futurist, is that me? No, can't be. I would suggest that the future of the electric car for quite a while is going to be for the 2-car family, where husband, wife, somebody uses a car to run around town, doing small things around town and so forth. Electric car would be really pretty nice. You go for a drive, come home, plug the thing in. You never go to a gas station. You'll miss all those convenience stores. And
okay, let me ask Walter about this, because Walter, you bought an electric vehicle. So let's talk about what have you seen as the pros and cons?
Go.
Well, yeah, I've had a couple of electric vehicles. First, I had a Taycan, and I traded that in, and I got an Audi e-tron GT. I don't know why I did it, but anyway, I think battery EVs. I think they create more problems than they actually solve, and I think the problems pretty much are very similar to what they were 120 years ago. I mean, with battery electric vehicles, I'm sure many of you have heard of the concept of range anxiety. Well, most of them have a very short range. Now, Tesla does have long range ones, and also Tesla has a great charging network, and it's a private network. It's an excellent network. So if you were going to do lots of long trips, I would say don't do anything other than a Tesla. You would, because Electrify America, ChargePoint, all those others, we just don't have the infrastructure. I think the other problem with the infrastructure is that to build out a massive infrastructure, it's one thing to have, in other words, I think BEVs are more of a niche market. I think they're a market that will be here, but I don't think that and I'll talk maybe a little bit more later, but I really believe that the future is plug-in hybrids as well as hybrids, and I think there will be a mix of those. But I believe that the future, as opposed to politicians saying we're going BEVs, I don't think the politicians are really thinking about what does it entail if you were to go within a purely BEV world. Speaking specifically of lithium, it takes 500,000 pounds, okay, of earth to be dug up just to get a kilogram of lithium, okay, to get 1,000 pounds of a kilogram of lithium, okay. It takes 500,000 pounds of water, okay, to get that to process that lithium, because it's processed in salt mines. Typically, I mean, most of the lithium, as far as where it's actually being produced, is in Chile, Argentina, Bolivia, also China as well. But the thing is, it's a very, very dirty process, and so you have this sort of trade-off, what they call the well to wheel, from the well to the actual wheel. A BEV indeed will give you, basically, relative to a conventional internal combustion engine car, you will have 50% lower emissions over the life of the BEV, okay? But when you think about the BEV as far as the production of the lithium itself and the downstream effects of it, where you have basically water issues, particularly in some of the driest parts of the world, in Bolivia and Argentina and Chile, the downstream effects where this stuff gets into the rivers and streams, and it affects and impacts animals all the way, downstream. The thing is, you're trading off one issue for the other. Now I'm going to give you an example of the thinking here. California, where I live, in Southern California, we import 60% of our oil from foreign sources. So all you're doing here in the case of these BEVs is you are shifting the environmental problem from one place to another. So you can virtue signal and say, oh, you know, California by 2035, it'll be all BEVs. Well, that's virtue signaling, because all the dirty work is not going to be going on in California. The dirty work is going to be shifted to places that aren't even going to do the mine, you know, the production, the mining and extraction and production of all that work is not going to take place in California, where they have this ridiculous
Walter,
idea.
why did you buy 2 EVs then?
Well, okay, I bought 2 EVs. Well, the thing is, it was before I was knowledgeable about BEVs. I thought, wow, because they're fast. I mean, let's face it. I have an Audi e-tron GT, and I mean, it is super fast. It is so much fun to drive. And to Cork's point,
The market and the customers like these vehicles, right?
they do, but I think it serves a niche market. But the question is, can you do this at scale?
Do you know what the #1 selling luxury vehicle is in the world?
No, I don't.
The Model S. In Europe, in the US, and in China. So I'm not sure that that's a niche when they're beating Lexus, when they're beating BMW, when they're beating Mercedes, when they're beating Audi. And oh, by the way, it's in the early stages. So